So I mentioned in the lecture on music a song about Dreyfus, Dreyfus mein Kind, and I think we have time now to listen to it and talk about it. A different kind of song.
Let me have it.
Meine Augen tief mir klingen, da lu. Muss mein Mama pfleg mir singen bei mein Wickel. Hi, la lula, die ganze Welt singt das Liederle. Ob kein Meure, Dreyfus mein Kind, vergesse schon die bis da Jiederle. Was in Frankreich hat das passiert? Weiß da jeder ganz gut. Ein Opferurteil, Kapitän Dreyfus, noch ein paar Woller überlebt. Hi, lila lula, die ganze Welt singt so das Liederle. Ob kein Meure, Dreyfus mein Kind, vergesse schon die bis da Jiederle.
Lifsha Widman's mother learned it from an organ grinder, and Lifsha asked her mother to teach it to her. So we're talking about 1890s, I guess the beginning of the Dreyfus trial. And the song itself says, what happened in France, everyone knows. They found Dreyfus guilty only because he's a Jew. The song, though, is really a lullaby in form. It says, I da la lulu, which is, the lullaby, what you sing to the child in the cradle. And the whole world is singing this song, don't worry, little Dreyfus, hab kein Meure, Dreyfus mein Kind, vergess nicht, as du bist a Jidele. Don't worry, little Dreyfus, don't forget that you're a little Jew. So as a lullaby, it's interesting because Dreyfus has suddenly become a little baby in the cradle that the mother is singing to it. So it sort of, Dreyfus now becomes like the little Jew all over the world, the little baby Jew everywhere. It's also interesting in the fact that she learned it from an organ grinder, and you can sort of hear, because the singer, and we have an extensive recordings of her songs, she's an exceptionally slow singer. She sings most of her songs very slowly, but this one, she sings rather upbeat. I think it reflects the fact that you could sort of hear the organ grinder playing the rhythm. It actually has a rhythm, because Lifsha's style usually is, like many African-American blues singers, rhythm is not a stable thing. You can speed up a verse or speed up a line. It depends on the emotion of the singer. That's the way Lifsha usually sings. But here it's actually different in that sense because it has a driving rhythm, which doesn't necessarily jive with the idea that it's a lullaby. In the Ruth Rubin collection here at YIVO, there are actually other songs about Dreyfus. Another version of this, but also other Dreyfus songs. So you could see these street singers were also passing on information on the latest tragedies, right? I mean, you've probably heard the Yiddish version of the Titanic sinking, which becomes also versions of that song. Or
is that before recordings? Before, what was the recording technology at that time?
There was none.
So how did the song like that travel?
There was a street singer.
But so people just on the street, and then someone else heard it and sang it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
It's not crazy. That's how folk songs were.
It's like news is traveling.
Well, you know how they say that in today's world we have time for 3 seconds, right? In our information capacity. But once upon a time, before radio and television, we could sit and listen to a folk tale for an hour, right? Nowadays, we get impatient after 30 seconds. But first of all, a folk singer who sang that song had a good memory. And actually, it's interesting because she asked her mother to write, we actually have her interview with her on this, she asked her mother to write it down so she could learn it. But usually Lifsha didn't even need to be written down. She picked up this, and my mother was the same way. She had a great memory for songs. She can go to a theater and learn it that first time. And maybe she changed some words, but that's what happens to songs as they get sung. So you do need a good memory, that's for sure. Sometimes you can write it down, but a lot of times you didn't need to. So yeah, these organ grinders are not only passing on songs, but they're passing on information, what's going on in the outside world. Titanic, and then local tragedies, a fire. There are a number of Yiddish songs about a fire in a certain city, a certain town. I never got a chance to play pogrom songs, which is an interesting genre because sometimes it's the same song, you just change the names. Kiev, Odessa, Bialystok, which is, it's quite a distance there, but we actually have the same song with the same melody for both Bialystok and Kiev or Kishinev, which are, not that close together in terms of Yiddish geography. But the same melody is used, and the same images. There are certain ways that a singer creates a song where he takes from previous songs, uses the same motifs, and just changes it a little to make it more, for that event that he wants to talk about.
So for a song like this where one utility could be sharing news of the day, but then because of the form of the lullaby, a utility could also be putting a child to sleep, and especially because of the particular news being so bleak. I mean, it seems so dissonant. Is that common in folk songs, or is this just a very strange case?
I mean, in this particular case, it's almost funny. I mean, all of a sudden she's singing to Little Baby Dreyfus. I mean, that comes out of nowhere, but it makes it a very personal song for the woman singing it. Right? And so it's sort of remarkable in that way.
I would imagine that it's more of a comment on the song, that it's using lullaby sort of like musical topic, rather than that it's a lullaby that's about this, just my guess.
Sort of personalizing and showing a kind of connection that any singer in this song, of the song in Yiddish, would have that sort of relation to
and maybe there was a lullaby before this that they're changing for Dreyfus, a previous model. People didn't care, that it wasn't that, 100% original, right? They just, the idea was to spread it and express what they wanted to express. There's a comic side to this as well. Let's say Maskilik songs, I call it Maskilik, but some were anti-religious, anti-Hasidic, but others were just anti-technological, right? We know, like anti-telegraph, anti-railroad, anti-Zeppelin. You have a whole genre of these songs. Some of them are serious, and some of them are making fun of the people who are making fun. I guess the great example is Komm her du Philosoph, right? We know who wrote it, Velvos Barja. Ketzer Moyach. He's making fun of the Hasidim and of the Rebbe who's performing miracles. Like the Rebbe is saying, a Luftballon, right? The Zeppelin, right? Hast du ausgetracht? You thought up a Zeppelin, you think you're so great, but I could just cross the ocean, if I want to, and in no time at all. So that song is making fun of the Hasidim. But there are other songs that are actually, this catastrophe, the telegraph. Nowadays, it can only be sung with irony. I mean, the railroad. Because the railroad, for the religious Jews, the train, suddenly on Shabbos, they're having this train go through. I mean, disrupt everything. It was horrible. People really resented it. We forget these things, but that was also another theme, in its own way, passing along the news of the newest inventions coming to Eastern Europe.